one disaster would wipe us out, whether nuclear or chemical or whatever. I mean, we are so close to the train tracks.
Train tracks running right through the valley and into the middle of Las Vegas. But what are they carrying?
It's a question our 8 News Now investigators have been asking for months after this train carrying hazardous materials derailed in Ohio. 50 cars going off the tracks right near the Ohio-Pennsylvania line, sending highly flammable chemicals into the environment.
So what if that happened here, and why can't anyone say what's on these trains? Here's 8 News Now investigator David Sharns.
This map shows all of the rail lines across Nevada, some 1,200 miles of track. And you can see right there in the southern part of the network goes right through the middle of Las Vegas. Neither the Federal Railroad Administration nor any government agency can tell us the specific hazardous materials the trains on these lines are carrying. What would a train derailment mean for Las Vegas?
Within 100 yards of this building, if that stuff that happened there was a train derailment, downtown Las Vegas would have been basically off limits.
It's something Commissioner Tick Segerblum doesn't want to see. A train derailment in the Las Vegas Valley on the scale of East Palestine, Ohio. The fiery crash last February releasing toxic chemicals, forcing nearly 2,000 to leave their homes.
You can imagine what's in those tankers.
Tankers plastered with warnings, running just feet from Segerblum's office at the Clark County Government Center. Did you wonder what these trains were carrying in your own district?
I guess in a sense wonder, but on the other hand, probably assume the worst.
Segerblum says he has to assume the worst because the exact contents on these massive chains of cargo are secret. Well, we know what's on some trains, like this one that derailed earlier this year near Baker, California, carrying iron ore. The multi-mile-long links are transporting many different materials. The nearly 2-mile-long train in East Palestine had 20 different combustible and flammable liquids and gases, including something called vinyl chloride. The CDC calls it colorless, highly flammable, and potentially explosive.
That's one of the problems when you have this top secret stuff and everybody's operating under security, and that a lot of times they think they don't have to tell us, and if we don't discover it, then we never know.
The 8 News Now investigators asked several local, state, and federal agencies one simple question. What's on the trains? A spokesperson for the city of Las Vegas said, quote, what the trains are carrying is not shared with local jurisdictions. Both he and Clark County told us to ask the railroad, Union Pacific, for details. The company says it's required by federal law to, quote, transport chemicals and other hazardous commodities that Americans use daily, including fertilizer, ethanol, crude oil, and chlorine. No public entity nor the railroad would say exactly what is on these cars beyond that. The American Association of Railroads, a trade group for freight carriers, notes there are thousands of distinct products, not all hazardous, on our nation's tracks. But their fact sheet for Nevada about what's on the trains is redacted to, quote, preserve confidentiality. Should the public know what's on these trains?
They should. I'm not sure about each train, but I think it's pretty clear that the more knowledge you have, the better.
Clark County, Las Vegas, and Henderson all have specific plans in place and specialized teams to respond if there were a hazmat rail emergency. But the county's emergency plans, dated January 2022, use data as old as 2005, with no specifics on materials and a phone number to call for a railroad representative about specific shipments. The 8 News Now investigators found over the past 10 years, 43 trains have derailed in Nevada, just one with what the Federal Railroad Administration calls a hazmat release. But the report for that derailment only says it involved a, quote, alcohol of unknown amount.
Unless we know specifically what we're protecting against, we probably are under-protecting.
Representatives from Union Pacific say their trains are safe and there are measures ensuring safety on the tracks. Democrats in Carson City are looking to beef up that security by ensuring detector systems. They're meant to alert the often just two-person crew that a train could derail. The original bill attempted to actually restrict the length of some of these trains, some of them miles long, to about just a mile, but that part of the bill was gutted. Union Pacific noting it's unclear what power any state has over interstate commerce. I'm David Charnes, 8 News Now.